everyone. Thank you. Everyone has now returned to the chamber, so we will restart the second part of the Cabinet meeting. And the first... Oh, we're just...
Oh, here
yes. We're just double checking that everyone is back in the chamber, and they are indeed back in the chamber. So we will restart the meeting. And the first report we're going to consider in the second part of the meeting is our proposed strategic workforce plan. And that is a report of the Chief Officer for Legal, Regulatory, HR and Corporate Policy. And we're also joined by the Group Manager for Human Resources and Organisational Development as well. So over to you, please, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you. For the purpose of the record, my name is Paul Miles and I'm the Group Manager for Human Resource and Organisation Development. The purpose of this report is to present the draft strategic workforce plan for 2023 through to 2028 to Cabinet for approval. The new plan has been developed and has been considered by the Corporate Overview Scrutiny Committee, with the committee's recommendations being incorporated into the final version. These include clarity on the turnover rate of staff within the plan, the ongoing need to record vacancies across each directorate, and the future monitoring of the delivery plans. Service workforce planning will be developed through close collaboration between directorate managers and the respective HR business partners. Co-produced delivery plans will be developed in response to workforce themes, which will identify what we have done and what we plan to do next. Strategic workforce planning training for Corporate Management Board and HR officers has been undertaken by the Local Government Association. This will be followed by training throughout the organisation to ensure directorate managers have due regard to the strategy when considering business or financial planning. In addition to being considered by the Corporate Overview Scrutiny Committee, the draft strategic workforce plan has been shared with Corporate Management Board, heads of service and the trade unions. All consultees have welcomed the approach and their feedback has been used to finalise the draft, and there were no concerns raised by the trade unions. I'll take you now to the recommendations of paragraph 9 of the report and ask Cabinet firstly to note the work undertaken to develop the strategic workforce plan, in particular the engagement outlined in paragraph 3.5, and also to approve the strategic workforce plan attached as Appendix 1 and note the ongoing work needed to develop the delivery plans.
Thank you for that, Paul. Councillor Williams, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. And can I begin with thanking Paul for his work on this and the team. The report itself, the plan says that the preceding plan did expire in 21. Of course, we've had a COVID pandemic, which has basically turned everything on its head. But we still recognise that this authority's greatest asset is its workforce. The 6,000 people that work for this authority, that's our number one asset. And we absolutely rely on them to deliver the essential services that the general public needs and expect from us. So the COVID pandemic completely changed the way that the authority has worked, of course. And I think the key of this plan going forward is flexibility, because what we want are the right people with the right skills at the right job, and it's important. I think this plan helps to deliver that. We certainly aim to offer a rewarding career with opportunities to develop and progress, and I think the plan also alludes to that. The workforce themes, I welcome those, because I think that demonstrates that this is a live and evolving plan. And this we will work with our staff to ensure that we meet the goals that we set ourselves. So I'm happy to move the recommendations at 9. That's to note the work that has been undertaken to develop a plan, and also the ongoing work needed to develop the directed delivery plans. So those words. Happy to move the report. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Williams. Next, we have Councillor Farr, please.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I'd like to thank Paul as well for the plan. I'm really impressed with the fact that it's not just writing. We've got some pictures to show what we are doing. I like that because it makes it easy for me and it makes it jargon free. So I'd like to second the report. And can I ask a question, please? How are we addressing diversity in our workforce? And does our workforce, the diversity part of our workforce, reflect the community we live in, please, Paul? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Councillor Farr. Over to you, please, Paul.
Thank you. So, within the strategic plan, I think page 348, we do hold some workforce data that shows our position in relation to that of the county. So, 2.2% of the county are ethnic minority, but as a workforce, we hit 1.6%. A number of potential reasons for that. Not all of our employees live within the borough. You know, we have a number who travel in. We continue to ask staff to update information through the employee self-service. So we've got richer information because not everyone declares that information because it's not a mandatory field to be completed when people join the authority. And we're just about to ask staff what network groups they would like to be part of. So I think that's another opportunity. Something's due to come out very soon, working with colleagues in the Equalities team. So that'll be another opportunity to sort of promote and gather further information.
Councillor Farr, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. I'm really pleased to hear that we are addressing and setting up networks for different staff workforce. That's great, thank you.
Yeah, that's important. And we have other initiatives in place, don't we, like the guaranteed job interview for people with disabilities, and that has proved very successful, isn't it? And certainly what we've seen, because myself and the Chief Executive attend regular briefings for new starters, is how those new starters, I think it's fair to say, better reflect the communities that we are in. So the workforce is changing to reflect our communities, but that doesn't happen overnight, does it? That takes time for those initiatives to have an impact, but they are having an impact. Next, we've got the Deputy Leader, please.
Thank you very much, Leader. Thank you very much, Mark. Mark, I'm really sorry, Paul. I'm sitting down here and I've got Mark in front of me in a paper. I'm fully supportive of the workplace plan, and what it does evidence is that we're already working in a social partnership way. I don't think we reference that, and it will be enacted by the end of this policy, so I think it's something that we should be included. But also, we don't make reference to Fair Work either. Now, the Leader and I were at WLGA conference, and that was a big topic on the conference floor. We do work in that way, but we don't reference it, and I think that would be helpful to encourage staff as well. Thanks very much, Leader.
Thank you for that, Deputy Leader. Do you want to respond to that then, please, Kelly?
Yeah, thank you for that, Deputy Leader. Obviously, we can work some of that into our delivery plans as they are progressed. And we also, we're still a signatory to the ethical code, which involves the Fair Working Partnership. What I will do, because to be honest, I haven't reviewed that for quite some time, is I'll review that to make sure we are hitting our targets in relation to that code, and where we can then incorporate them into other policies and strategies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Deputy, flagging that up. It is important, and it is an area that we're committed to, and I'm sure we can reflect that because the action's already being implemented, whether it's through the Real Living Wage or through other initiatives. But we can just make sure that is referenced in the strategy, because actually that's about recruiting and retaining staff, isn't it, and our workforce. Councillor Spanzik is next, please.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Paul. It's great, the graphics, and Councillor Farr said that the graphics speaks volumes. And the one surprised me how low it is, to be honest, is the one about carers. It's 4.9%. Now, that's the figure I got. It seems low to me, and I was wondering, because there's lots of unpaid carers who sometimes don't see themselves as carers. So one, I'm wondering how that data was gathered and whether there's some missing people there who perhaps maybe not consider themselves, or don't want to declare themselves as carers, perhaps. And how, as an authority, we deal with carers when it comes to perhaps emergency time off, or things happen and they're, dealing with caring for somebody as well as having a full-time job, and how we deal with that as a policy.
Thank you for that, Councillor Sparnsek. Please.
Okay, so just picking up the first point, I think, about data capture and a number, back to the earlier point, a number of fields aren't mandatory in terms of capture, so we are reliant on staff giving over that information. That's something we continually push. I think quarterly to try and capture a number of features of information that then contribute to the data you see in front of you. So we continue to do that, but we have to allow staff the right to tell us and to not tell us some of the positions with that. Moving forward with the second part, we have a number of policies to support staff in terms of care and responsibilities and wider responsibilities such as flexible working and such, and we'll continue to do that. I think one of the points I mentioned earlier in terms of the groups that we're going to create possibly give an opportunity for greater feedback from staff, and we can look to develop our future policies with that in mind.
Thank you for that, and thank you for raising that. Again, it's an important area that does need, and we are working on it, how we can continue to support carers. Chief Executive, please.
Thank you, Leader. Just briefly, just on the point of Fair Works, I think that's a point well made. In our new corporate plan, as one of the 7 wellbeing objectives, we do specifically reference Fair Work and our commitment to it in Objective 2. And I think that alignment probably needs to be pulled out in other plans as well. But I wouldn't want to underestimate that. That is there as one of our 7 objectives very explicitly in Objective 2.
Thank you for that, Mark. So the recommendation's been moved and seconded. Is everyone in agreement, please? Aye. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much, Paul. We will now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is information reports for noting. Kelly, please.
Thank you, Leader. Standard report to inform Cabinet of an information report that has been published since your last meeting. The details of the report are in paragraph 3.1, and you'll see that it relates to the Ombudsman's annual letter to the authority for 2022-2023. The letter is appended to your report, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Kelly. Councillor Farr, please.
Thank you, Kelly, for that. It's really good to know that we have fully implemented the PSOW's complement handling model policy. I'm really pleased to know that there is no overall increase in corporate complaints made to the PSOW, and also it's good to know that some departments did not have any complaints referred to the PSOW. So thank you, Kelly.
Thank you for that, Councillor Farr. And then Deputy Leader, please.
Wanted to move it? I'll move it, please.
Thank you, Councillor Farr. Deputy Leader, please.
Thank you very much, Leader. I'm happy to second the report. I only have one question for you, please, Kelly. I'm really pleased to see that actually people are making complaints, which sounds horrendous, but actually it gives people the opportunity to explore and negate anything that they think is a wrong against them, is what I want to say. I would ask, though, for members of this committee who don't actually know how processes work, can you tell me, please, what happens when somebody is referred to the Standards Committee and how long that process takes, please?
Thank you for that, Deputy Leader. Kelly, please.
So this report covers two sets of complaints. It covers corporate complaints, which are when people complain to the authority about services and the way we deliver things. And if they're not happy with how we deal with that internally, they can then report that to the Ombudsman, who will investigate. The second part are code of conduct complaints, and in essence, individuals can refer what they see an alleged breach of the code of conduct to the Ombudsman. The Ombudsman, firstly, they run a two-stage test. They see whether there is a prima facie breach of the code, and if there is, they consider whether it would be in the public interest to pursue that investigation. The Ombudsman then carry out that investigation, and at the conclusion of that investigation, they send a report to myself, where they say they'd either want to refer it to the Standards Committee, refer it to the Adjudication Panel for Wales, or take no action. They can be quite quick, or they can be very lengthy. Standards Committee dealt with one case this year, and I think in total that had probably taken the best part of 18 months to get to that stage before it came to the Standards Committee for a hearing. But that was from obviously the initial report to the Ombudsman, the Ombudsman's investigation, the opportunity for the member to respond, and then a hearing before the full Standards Committee.
Thank you for that, Kelly. Deputy Leader, please.
Thank you very much. So just for clarity, we've only had one case that needed to be referred anywhere in conjunction with Bridgend County Borough.
That case wasn't in this period. It wasn't in this reporting period. That case was concluded after this reporting period. In the prior reporting period, I think we had one that went to the Standards Committee. There was one that was referred to the APW. We had one that went to the Standards Committee.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for that clarification, Kelly. Thank you, Deputy Leader. It's been moved and seconded. Everyone in agreement? Aye. Thank you, colleagues. We'll now receive the first report of Corporate Director for Education and Family Support, and it is on the Relationship Building Together project. Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Leader. For the purpose of recording, I'm Lindsay Harvey. I'm the Corporate Director for Education and Family Support. The purpose of the report is to update Cabinet on the Relationship Building Together project and ask that authorities delegated to the relevant officer to approve the final terms and enter into the funding service level agreement on behalf of the Council. The background of this report, Leader, is set out at paragraph 2. The Youth Endowment Fund, or YEF, refunds the delivery and evaluation of projects and collaborations across England and Wales to build knowledge about what works to prevent children and young people from becoming involved in violence. One of the ways YEF does this is through themed grant rounds. In September 22, YEF launched a targeted project, Trauma-Informed Practice, and its impact on youth violence outlined a particular interest in trauma-informed practice delivered in youth justice, education, or children's social care services. In October 2022, the Bridgend Youth Service, the Educare Service, the Youth Development Service, and the 3 Early Help locality hubs worked in partnership with CAMS to submit a bid to TF to establish the Relationship Building Together project. These local authority teams work with approximately 1,000 children per year, and it's estimated that around 3/4 of these children have experienced significant trauma, which has impacted on their ability to develop meaningful relationships and have led to problematic behaviours. Many of these children fall below the threshold for CAMS and other neurodevelopmental services, meaning their vulnerabilities do not give them access to services that would enable their recovery from the trauma they've experienced. Support for children to recover from the trauma they've experienced is often implemented when the child's situation has escalated into criminality, when they become exploited, or when they become care experienced and experience numerous placement moves. This project will aim to work with children at a much earlier point in their journey, prevent escalation, and support them to recover from any trauma they've experienced. The Relationship Building Together project will encompass both staff training and using the trauma recovery model and a psychology-led approach to better understand a child's life journey, their developmental needs, strengths, protective factors, and support practitioners and services to consider what the right intervention is at the right time. Leader, on the 2nd of February 2023, the local authority was notified the bid for this project had been successful. The general terms and conditions of the funding are set out in Appendix A. Since February this year, the Relationship Building Together project has been in a co-design phase, working closely with the commissioned evaluation team at the University of Kent. The co-design phase was finalised in June 2023, and a joint project evaluation proposal was approved by the F Committee in July 2023. The Relationship Building Project Building Together project aligns itself to the work being undertaken on the therapeutic placement support team for children with complex needs. Both projects will enhance the support offered to children and their families. The service provision can become part of the safety approach practitioners use in signs of safety. Leader, the financial implications of this report is set out at paragraph 8. Cabinet members will note that around £791,000 of funding has been secured until the 31st of March 2025. As part of the funding agreement, the Council is required to support the project through existing staff members' time. Match funding in kind of approximately £236,000 is required to fund the salaries of the key project workers, such as the trauma manager, trauma support staff, business and finance support who will be supporting the project. Leader, then take you to the recommendations at the last paragraph, specifically to delegate authority to me as the responsible officer to approve and execute the final service level agreement on behalf of the Council. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. Councillor Blundell, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I just want to say thank you for the report, Lindsay. I think it's important to note that, yes, we were very successful with this, but we were the only local authority in Wales to receive this funding. They're one of only a handful of local authorities across the whole breadth and width of this country, of the UK, were able to get this. I think that's something we really should shout about. That it shows how high regard our youth justice service is seen across this country. You know, it's a great opportunity, and we've spoke about it a lot in the last cabinet meeting that we had when this report was put to us. This is the second stage of this now, and you know we said we're going to have regular updates to our corporate parenting meetings as well, so we can keep an eye on how this project is working. But I think it's very important to note that this is a fantastic opportunity for this local authority to showcase what can be done in Wales and what Bridgend is really doing well at. So on that note, I will move this report. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Blundell. Councillor Farr, please.
Thank you, Leader. I'll second the report before I forget. And yeah, I kind of welcome this project, you know, wholeheartedly. I think it's good that we are doing this. The only question I have, Lindsay, is obviously we've spoken all this afternoon about constraint on money, on our budget. We have to be careful where we spend our money. So can you tell me, with this new project, how much will it cost us financially, if anything at all?
Thank you for that. It's an important question, Councillor Farn. And I know we'll get a response now from the Corporate Director.
Thanks, Leader. I agree. It's a very important question, especially within the financial context we find ourselves. As it refers to in the report, there is an element of match funding that's required to implement this. It's around £236,000. Clearly, this is match funding in kind, so this relates to current workers. There's no additional funding required by the local authority, but it will require, obviously, the time of officers involved in this project. A key part of the project is to make sure it's aligned with current processes. So, for example, signs of safety, and also making sure that the projects are currently supported within not just the local authority, but health as well.
Thank you for that information. It is important, particularly in the working with the financial context that we now face. But also this is an example of where we work creatively and innovatively. We can actually secure funding, external funding that can be then used for very important work. So this is essential, isn't it, that we support those children, vulnerable children, young people that have experienced trauma. Okay, so the recommendation has been moved and seconded. Is everyone in agreement, please? Thank you, colleagues. So we'll now receive the second report for Corporate Director for Education and Family Support, and it's on the appointment of local authority governors. Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of this report is to seek approval for Cabinet for the appointment of the local authority governors to the school governing bodies listed at paragraphs 3.1 and 3.2 of this report. The background to this report is set out at paragraph 2. Leader, for the 15 current local authority governor vacancies of the 15 schools of paragraph 3.1, the applicants met the approved criteria for appointments as local authority governor, and there was no competition for the vacancy. There was competition, however, for 2 vacancies at one school, and the applicants are detailed at paragraph 3.2. The officer panel scrutinised the information provided in accordance with council guidance and noted that none of the applicants are currently elected board members or elected councillors. 2 of the applicants had not previously been school governors. The officer panel recommends the appointment of Mrs Lowcock James due to her experience as a local authority governor and a serving vice chair of a governing body, and her attendance record of the governing body meetings over the last 2 years. The panel also recommends the appointment of Mrs Caris Johnson, given her role as an education professional at Ysgol Gyfun Gymraeg Llangyniad and her experience of the secondary school sector. This is considered to be transferable to a primary school setting. Officers welcome Mr Hall's application, although his appointment to either of the vacancies at Ysgol Gymraeg Broag was not recommended this time. Officers would welcome an application for an alternative vacant local authority governor position in due course. Therefore, Leader, I take up the recommendations of paragraph 9 of this report.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. Councillor Blundell, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. First of all, I'll move the report, but also I just want to say thank you very much to those members of the public who put their names forward to be governors. Sometimes it can be a thankless task being the governor, but it's a very important one for our schools. I know I keep saying this every time, but there are still plenty of vacancies, and there are plenty of members who I don't think are governors. So don't worry, I will be getting, once you come on school visits from me, I'll make sure you'll be leaving as a school governor if you aren't already. So no, just please, my usual call is please have a look at the list of schools. If you feel like you can be a governor, please apply. We're happy to have all applications in, and thank you very much to all those who are going to be our new governors for this new school year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Blundell. Deputy Leader, please.
I'm very happy to second this report. I'm really pleased to see some competition for some roles. I would encourage anybody to be a school governor. It's of immense value to me. I enjoy myself so much. Thanks very much, Leader.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Everyone in agreement with the recommendations. Thank you, colleagues. We will now move on to the third report, the Corporate Director for Education and Family Support, and that is on the outcome of the statutory notice for the school modernisation programme for Coity Primary School. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. The purpose of this report is to inform Cabinet of the outcome of the published statutory notice in respect to the proposed enlargement of Coity Primary School and seek approval to issue and publish a decision letter as prescribed by the School Organisation Code. The background of this report is set out at paragraph 2. In order to address the demand for places at Coity Primary School, officers undertook an options appraisal which identified the need to increase provision at the school. In June 2022, Council approval was received to include the scheme in the capital programme and utilise BCPC capital resources to fund the extension. In October 2022, Cabinet approval was received to commence a statutory consultation process to make a regulated alteration in the form of an enlargement to Coity Primary School. The consultation was undertaken in respect of an enlargement to the school being a 2.5 form entry school with an 84 full-time equivalent nursery. The capacity of the school would increase from 420 to 525 places for pupils aged 4 to 11 years old. As a result of the enlargement, the published admission number or PAN of the school would be 75. In May this year, Cabinet was informed of the outcome of the statutory consultation process and gave approval to publish a consultation report and statutory notice in respect to the proposal. Following Cabinet approval in May 2023, the consultation report was published on the Council's website and stakeholders were advised accordingly. The statutory notice was published on the 5th of June 2023 for a period of 28 days, and formal written objections were invited during this period. The statutory notice closed on the 3rd of July 2023. Leader, 2 objections were received by email. The first objection expresses concern about the capacity of the school and the playground space, the impact of mixed classes, disruption during construction, traffic concerns, and lunchtime service. The second objection relates to the impact the school expansion will have upon Welsh medium education. An objection report must now be published summarising the objections and the local authority's response to those objections. The objection report is detailed at Appendix A. Cabinet is now requested to consider the outcome of the process and determine whether or not to implement the proposal. Cabinet can either decide to accept, reject or modify the proposal. A full equality impact assessment, or EIA, has been carried out as part of the development proposal. The full EIA considers the impact of the proposal on the 9 protected characteristics, including the use of the Welsh language. With the proposed increase in the availability of English medium places for pupils in the school catchment area, it is not unreasonable to assume that parents considering a Welsh medium education for their child may see the creation of additional places at the school as an opportunity to consider educating their child closer to home in an English medium school. Therefore, there is a risk the proposal may facilitate parents not considering a Welsh medium education in the future. However, Coity Primary School's facilities will provide an opportunity for Welsh language courses to be offered to parents and carers, thereby increasing Welsh language opportunities, supporting the local authority's Welsh and Education Strategic Plan and Welsh Government's Cymraeg 2050 agenda. The local authority will promote the Welsh language through engaging parents and caregivers in the early engagement activities and signposting them to Welsh language classes and courses. The financial implications of the report are set out to paragraph 8. Cabinet members will note that 1.65 million has been allocated in the capital programme for this project. The local authority has entered into a separate Section 106 agreement in respect of additional housing in the area. Once the Section 106 contribution has been received, which is approximately £300,000 in total, this funding will displace some of the BCPC funding. Any changes to the total cost of the scheme will be reported back to Cabinet and Council as appropriate. Therefore, Leader, I ask that Cabinet notes the outcome of the published statutory notice, determines whether to implement the proposal, gives approval to publish the objection report, and gives approval to issue and publish a decision letter as required by the Code. Thanks, Leader.
Thank you for that report, Lindsay. Councillor Blundell and Councillor Farr. Councillor Blundell first, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Lindsay, for the report. I think this is adding on to Lindsay that this is the next step in the road to the proposal of an extension to Coity Primary. I want to thank everyone who took part and who consulted with us, who wrote to us, because we do read them, we do obviously answer them, and I hope that the concerns that were raised with us have been answered in the report, because it's a very thorough report, and I know members are concerned about the Welsh language provision and how how this could be detrimental to that. But I think looking at our Welsh impact assessment, looking at the fact that we are looking at building one of the biggest primary schools in the county borough, and it will be Welsh medium just up the road, and it's going to be in the same ward as it is now. So I think that all makes me feel comfortable that we are offering a Welsh language provision to the people of Parkderwin, Coity, and Pendray and Litchard if they choose to Coity. So I think I'm comfortable in that, and I hope Cabinet will be comfortable with that as well, and now we can move forward, and I will propose that we accept the recommendations and move forward with this very needy project in that estate. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Blundell. Councillor Farr is next, please.
Thank you, Leader. I'd like to second the report, and I've got one question, please, Lindsay. Can you tell me what action we are taking in regards to the objections we have received in regarding the Welsh medium provision in Coity and Brackla area, please?
Thank you for that question, Councillor Farr. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Councillor Farr. Just to reiterate Councillor Blundell's words, first of all, we're deeply grateful to anyone who has contributed to this exercise. Obviously, we want to hear the voices of residents and those of young people within the county borough. I would direct Cabinet members to Appendix A, Appendix 1 of the report. There's a substantial impact assessment that's available in there, and we look at all the objections that have been raised in some detail, and we've considered them in very carefully as a group and set out all of the proposals very carefully as we see them, and also all of the responses in comprehensive detail in that report. I think the key thing for me is as Councillor Blundell says, is first of all, we are very lucky to have Coity Primary School and some of the extra work they do with promoting the Welsh language in the school. And also, just to reiterate what Councillor Blundell said, is that we are planning a very large Welsh medium primary school very close to that area. I understand that by walking distance is about 1 mile away. So again, there are mitigating evidence to suggest that obviously we have a very good provision for Welsh language in Coity Primary School, and also we're hoping to build a very large Welsh medium primary school on its doorstep.
Thank you for that, Lindsay, and the question, Councillor Farr. Lindsay's just explained how what we're doing is we're proposing to offer greater choice, and that's important, isn't it? So there will be an expansion. There's a proposed expansion of Welsh medium provision at Bro which is nearby. It's close by, but there's also a proposed expansion of Coity Primary School so that parents can exercise that choice, and they do have the right to exercise that choice. I just want to remind colleagues that the recommendation is that we note the outcome of the published statutory notice to make the alteration, determine whether to implement the proposal, and that's been moved by the Cabinet member, and give approval to publish the objection report, which is of course attached to the report, and give approval to issue and publish a decision letter as required by the code. We've also seen in the feedback, haven't we, Lindsay, and we've heard from local members, from the local community, from parents and governors, a desire and a need for an expansion of that school to meet the increase in demand, sustained increase in demand that we've seen for English medium provision in that area. And it's important that we make every effort to meet that demand. I'm also very mindful of the fact that we do not have a high level of places elsewhere in that part of Bridgend. I think we describe it as North East Bridgend. And we did consider that as part of the option appraisal, didn't we? About what other spaces and places are available, and they're not available, and therefore we need to offer that in the community. So I'm very happy to support the recommendations as well, and is everyone in agreement with that? Thank you very much, colleagues, and of course any proposal will be subject to planning permission, etc., wouldn't it? And those other processes. We'll now receive the next report of the Corporate Director for Education and Family Support, and that is to seek approval of the revised school attendance enforcement policy and fixed penalty notices for unauthorised absence and the code of conduct. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. The purpose of the report is to seek Cabinet approval of the revised school attendance enforcement policy and fixed penalty notices for unauthorised absence from school, the code of conduct. Bridgend County Borough Council has a legal obligation to make education provision for all children living within the county borough. There's also a duty to ensure that all children regularly attend education provision. The Education Welfare Service acts as a statutory service within the local authority to ensure these responsibilities are met. The responsibility for ensuring regular school attendance lies with parents and carers, and the implementation of legal proceedings to address issues is progressed by the EWS, the Education Welfare Service. When a pupil fails to attend school, the absence is recorded and is marked as either authorised or unauthorised absence. It's essential that all schools or clusters of schools adopt their own attendance policy, which should include the rationale for fixed penalty notices, or FPNs, prosecutions and other intervention methods. This policy should also cover situations when an absence will and will not be authorised. While there's been an improvement in school attendance rates over the last academic year, we remain focused on returning to pre-pandemic attendance levels as soon as possible. Leader, you will be aware that a task and finish group chaired by the Group Manager Family Support has been established with representative head teachers and other partners to progress this work. A revised school attendance enforcement policy and FPNs for unauthorised absence, code of conduct, are attached to Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 of this report. These have been revised in conjunction with legal colleagues, being cognizant of the current All Wales attendance framework. The criteria for which an FPN will be issued is outlined at paragraph 3.1. Both the policy and code of conduct will be issued to schools and other partners following Cabinet approval for the governing body's consideration. As identified in paragraph 8, it's difficult to anticipate how many FPNs will be issued in the course of a school year. However, a penalty notice is £60 if paid within 28 days of receipt of the notice, rising to £120 if paid up to 28 days, but within 42 days of receipt. Therefore, Leader, I take you to the recommendations of paragraph 9, where Cabinet is asked to approve the school attendance enforcement policy and the fixed penalty notices for unauthorised absence from school, the code of conduct. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. Councillor Blundell, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. First of all, I'll move the report, and thank you, Lindsay, for the report. I think we've all seen post-pandemic that school attendance figures have been dropping. Many of us are school governors. We've had it reported to scrutiny that we have seen that drop, and we need to get that back up. We need to get those attendance figures back up. They are getting there, but we need to improve that somewhat. And now, some students need that help and support to get back into school. And this is just because fixed penalty notice is what we're discussing today doesn't mean this is going to be our first port of call. There are going to be other options. We yesterday, myself and the leader, and I'm assuming she's still the Vice Chair of Governors, Councillor Heather Griffiths, there to witness and speak to the children in CCYD and see those people who are going to go out and try and get those students back into school, because being in school will help them in the long run. There are other factors that help with attendance and attainment as well, but this is just one part of it. It's one part we can do here now and today. So hopefully the Cabinet will join me in moving and approving this, and that's all I'm going to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Councillor Blundell. Next we have Councillor Farr, please.
Thank you. I'd like to second the report and also ask a question, Lindsay. Are we doing any work with families and children to make them understand what this policy is about and how can they adhere to it? And if they didn't attend school, what would be our first protocol be? Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Farr. It's a useful question. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. I think that is our protocol. The first protocol is to work with families, to work with those learners, indeed, to see that the school is a valuable endeavour for them to attend. And we're very lucky, obviously, within this local authority, we have education and family support within the same directorate. So there's a very close relationship that we've built up with families over the years, and also we support communities in that. But as Councillor Blundell says, I think the key thing for this is to really incentivise attendance at school, to see that as being a valuable thing for young people to do. And we'll certainly be promoting that with families. So that would certainly be the first protocol with this policy. As the leader and Councillor Blundell have noted, we launched the attendance policy earlier this week. A very positive approach, a fantastic video, which I'd encourage everyone to see, and I'm more than happy to publicise that hyperlink again so people can see the video. But again, we're really trying hard to incentivise learners to attend schools and really trying hard to get our attendance levels up again to pre-pandemic levels.
Thank you for that, Lindsay, in that question, Councillor Ford. We saw at Coleg Cymnedol Azerwyn this week how the school, like all our schools, is very focused on celebrating attendance and success, so that this is seen as very much a last resort, the use of fixed penalty notices. We want to work with children and families. We want children and young people to be in school, and if there's a rich curriculum, and if we provide that additional support that sometimes children and young people need to boost their well-being, then we know that attendance can improve. And we're seeing the results of that across the county borough in terms of steadily improving attendance. Deputy Leader, please.
Thank you very much, Leader. So only one question for you, Lindsay, and that is I have concerns around 8.1, and that's the financial implications for anybody that does receive an FPN. I know, as Chair of Governors in a school, what I would say is we've already had this discussion, and we know that we already have authorised absences, and I think that's the clear distinction. But those authorised absences could be anything from dancing abroad to competing for Wales, to all manner of things that actually our pupils benefit for. So I would like to see something that's a bit more friendly, is what I want to see, going out to our parents. But what happens if we have a low-income family? How would they, because £60 in 28 days is an awful lot of money, how would they not get charged the 120 if they don't pay it in time? Because I do think we need to find some way, if they've contacted us within that 28 days, that we will give them some time to pay, because I appreciate we're in a cost of living crisis and it's mad out there. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. Thanks, Deputy Leader. It's a fair question. Now, obviously, the first thing is to incentivise attendance at schools. So this is certainly a road we don't want to go down. To give you the overall picture of how much money that this has created since 2015, so 8 years, it's in the region of £1,900. So you can see that over 8 years, there's been extremely few examples where we've gone down this road. It is the last port of call, really. But again, what we want to do, we want to make sure that we're in line with Welsh Government guidance, we're in line with the expectations the Welsh Government are quite rightly putting on local authorities to encourage school attendance. And we see this as being part of our policy and our toolkit to support schools in regular attendance.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. Deputy Leader wanted to come back.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. I appreciate your comments, but I don't think I've had an answer as to how we're going to help any families that are really struggling out there financially. And that's not incentivising anybody to attend school. That's actually penalising a parent. And I understand why this policy is in place, and I'm appreciative that this is the last resort. My concern is for those families, because we know that we've got more and more families receiving free school meals. That means that they are financially in detriment. This is going to put them further in that place.
Thank you for that, Deputy Leader. Do you want to come back? Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. Thanks, Deputy Leader, and apologies if I didn't answer the question. I suppose that the challenge is real, and I do accept that, first of all. I think the key thing is to work with families at the very first opportunity to make sure we don't get into this position. So certainly that prevention is the key element here. However, we are in line with Welsh Government guidance with this. But again, to re-emphasise, this is something we take not lightly at all. And it's very, very rarely put in place. But again, it is something that I think is necessary within the toolkit.
Thank you for that, Lindsay. Councillor Blundell, please.
Thank you, Leader. There's something else I should have added, and as Lindsay says, Welsh Government guidance, but it's also, this would mean that we're not out of step with any local authority in Wales. All 22 have this or very similar, and this would just keep us in step with them. There's nothing Bridgend only, this is across Wales as well. So I think that's just an important point to add. We're not an outlier in this. We are now, but we will, if we adopt this, we won't be.
And it's also important to stress as well, isn't it, Lindsay, that every case is considered on its merits, and the circumstances of those individual families will also be considered when considering what tools we use in that toolbox. Just to emphasise again, we want to work with families and with children and with young people. Councillor Farr, please.
Thank you, Leader. I forgot to ask a separate question, but I think it's important that we do the preventive work. I mean, it's like recycling, isn't it? You know, we're not finding residents, we're educating them. So I think it's important we ensure that preventive work goes on. Does this policy have to be agreed by the school governors before it can be implemented? That's what I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you for that important question. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. Thanks, Councillor Farr. Yes, so it needs to go to school governing bodies. I think the key part here is not just agreement at a governor level, but also within a cluster of school level. I think what's really important, and it goes back to the very well made point the Deputy Leader made, is obviously in working with families, we want consistency. We want consistency across primary, across secondary, and the more the cluster model is adopted consistently, the better. So we're looking for adoption at a local school level, but also within clusters, so there's consistency across the local authority.
Thank you for that, Councillor Farn. And of course, we'll work with schools on the adoption of this policy. So the recommendations have been moved and seconded. Is everyone in agreement, please? Thank you, colleagues. We will now move on to the final report of the Corporate Director for Education and Family Support, and that is on the Welsh in Education Strategic Plan, WESP, to use the acronym, 2022 to 2032, and the implementation of that plan. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. Before I start, I'd just like to welcome Michelle Hatcher and Becca Apke. They're here as architects of this report. They've done a very good job leading strategically and operationally the Welsh Education Strategic Plan. So they're here today to accompany me with this report. So, Cabinet members, the purpose of this report is to update Cabinet on the implementation and the progress of the Welsh Education Strategic Plan, or WESP, over the next 10 years. The background of this report is set out at paragraph 2. And the Welsh Education Strategic Plan's Wales Regulations 2019 make provision for a local authority to prepare a 10-year plan, the first to have effect from the 1st of September 2022, subject to Welsh Minister's approval. The purpose of these regulations is to improve opportunities for local authorities to plan Welsh medium education provision in order to support the current and future expectations for growth in Welsh medium education across the local authority. Improving the planning of Welsh medium education will also support Welsh Government's long-term national ambition for the Welsh language as set out in the Welsh Government's Cymraeg 2050 strategy. The first 10-year plan commenced on the 1st of September 2022 and expires on the 31st of August 2032. The outcome of the consultation process for the draft WESP 2023 to 2032 was reported to Cabinet in January 2022. Cabinet gave approval for the WESP to be submitted to Welsh Government, and BCBC's WESP for 2022 to 2032 was submitted to Welsh Government by the stipulated deadline of the 31st of January 2022. Following the submission of the WESP, Welsh Government requested that local authorities submit a 5-year WESP. BCBC's 5-year WESP was submitted to Welsh Government in December 2022, and its WESP annual review report for 2022-2023 was submitted to Welsh Government in July 2023. The WESP is contained within the Education and Family Support Strategic Business Plan for 2023-2026, and progress against the plan's objective is monitored by the local authority's Welsh Education Forum. The Welsh Education Forum is chaired by the Group Manager Learning Support, Michelle, who's with us today, who receives updates from the chairs of the subgroups who have been approved by the WEF. Bridgend strategic lead for the WESP is the Group Manager Learner Support. The current post holder, Michelle, is a former senior leader in the local Welsh English medium secondary school, and prior to becoming a deputy head teacher, the post holder was the former head of a Welsh department within the secondary school. BCBC's WESP coordinator is an experienced senior leader, Becca, from a Welsh medium primary school in Cardiff. The WESP coordinator reports to the Group Manager Learner Support and was appointed to work with stakeholders and delivery partners to drive forward BCBC's WESP with a view to promoting the Welsh language and supporting Welsh medium education throughout the county. With this combined experience, BCBC is well placed to drive the implementation of the WESP forward. Leader, you'll know through the report the golden thread throughout this WESP is our commitment to promote, market and celebrate progress, opportunities and our dedication to increase our Welsh medium offer across a variety of platforms using a dedicated subgroup to drive this forward. Activities and actions aligned with the Welsh Language Strategy 2021-2026. To promote and celebrate Bridgend's Welsh medium education journey, a video has been developed with partners and will be launched in 2023, later October, I believe. The link to the video is included in paragraph 3.5 of this report, and I'd encourage Cabinet members and members of the public to have a good look at the video if they've not already done so. This video is complemented by the local authority's Why Choose Welsh Medium Education booklet, which has been published with 10,000 copies printed. Late immersion provision, where pupils haven't been through Welsh medium education and are able to access additional support that immerses newcomers into the Welsh language, has been established. The local authority has utilised the late immersion grant from Welsh Government and has employed 1 teacher and 1 learning support officer. Currently, 10 pupils have been supported, with 2 having successfully returned to mainstream. BCBC is keen to provide pupils with additional learning needs with support in their language of choice, and this enhanced provision is referenced at paragraph 3.8 and 3.9 of the report. Cabinet members will be aware that in Ysgol Gyfun Cymraeg Llangynnau, BCBC is proud to have an outstanding Welsh medium secondary school. The school was inspected by Estyn in March 2023, and the resultant report made no formal recommendations for improvement and identified excellent practice in several areas. The school's head teacher was named Head Teacher of the Year at the most recent Welsh Teaching Awards and also received the Silver Award at the Pearson UK Teaching Awards. A key part of our WESP is the work we are doing to increase the number of pupil places available in Welsh medium settings in Bridgend. We're aiming to achieve this goal by building excellent 21st century school buildings, investing in our current school stock and developing state-of-the-art Welsh medium childcare settings. Welsh Government has set BCBC a target to increase the percentage of learners taught through the medium Welsh from around 8% to between 14 and 18% by 2032. In 2021, Bridgend's Welsh medium schools had 162 pupil places available for reception-aged learners. The local authority has set a target of 300 reception places being available for Welsh medium learners by the end of the planned period, which is an additional 138 additional pupil places. We're aiming to achieve this goal by building excellent buildings for all. Further information is included in paragraph 3.16 of this report. Cabinet members will be aware that BCBC's childcare team is continuing to work with local partners and providers to maintain and expand the offer of Welsh medium childcare across the local authority. 2 childcare hubs have been purposely designed and built to a very high standard. The setting in Betws was handed over to the local authority in November 22, and Blackmill was handed over in March of this year. In 2022-2023, the local authority funded 20 Flying Start childcare places compared to 10 places in 21-22. There are currently 13 children accessing Welsh medium childcare provision in the original Flying Start areas, which represents approximately 4% of the total number of children accessing childcare provision. The plan is to increase the number of Welsh medium Flying Start childcare places to the current expansion areas and for subsequent phases, which includes the implementation of the model that's been developed in one of the existing Flying Start settings in Bridgend. The 2 new Flying Start childcare settings in Ogwenville and Nantymol will offer both Welsh and English medium sessions. BCBC continues to work closely with Central South Consortium to ensure Welsh medium education in Bridgend benefits from regional support, and the consortium has held primary and secondary networking sessions, and Bridgend attended these networks. 2 Bridgend schools have attended the consortium's Siarter Iaith network meetings, and 7 have attended the Siarter Iaith Cymraeg campus network meetings. The Council's communication and marketing team promotes and proactively raises awareness of the Welsh language and Welsh culture. Between the 1st of April and 31st of March 2023, they published 45 posts relating to Welsh medium education and learning the Welsh language on social media, resulting in over 40,000 impressions, 55 retweets and 147 likes. And further information is available at paragraph 3.23. The report notes that in 2021-22, 99 pupils studied Welsh GCSE First Language, which increased to 108 in 22-23. It's also noted that in 2021, 1,189 pupils studied Welsh GCSE Second Language, which increased to 1,270 in 22-23. There's been an increase in the number of learners both in First and Welsh Language A level. Although there's been an increase in the number of studying Welsh post-16, we aim to continue to increase by ensuring the encouraging to take up the Welsh Language A level by sharing benefits of being bilingual. 3 schools are currently delivering subjects through the Ysgol programme with the local authority, namely Ysgol Gyfun Cymraeg Llangynoed, Pencoed Comprehensive School and Maesteg School. An established 10-year blended learning collaboration between Ysgol Gyfun Cymraeg Llangynoed and Ysgol Llanhari and Rhondda Cynon Taf affords learners the opportunity to study AS and A-level qualifications they're not able to do in their home school. 3 Welsh-speaking practitioners within Bridgend are undertaking the Aspiring Head Teacher Professional Development Programme, and this is the first time Welsh-speaking practitioners have undertaken the professional development in more than 3 years. The sabbatical scheme for Welsh language training offers language courses to primary and secondary school teachers, classroom assistants and lecturers, and the aim of these courses, which are funded by Welsh Government, is to increase the number of practitioners who can educate through the medium of Welsh or bilingually. In March 22, a post-16 steering group was established to facilitate strategic discussions between the local authority and Bridgend College. The promotion of Welsh language has been determined as one of the main elements of the group's activity moving forward. A key part of the group's discussions involved the promotion of vocational and training opportunities for young people who would like to secure employment in Welsh language settings. This activity is further supported by BCBC's HR department by promoting apprenticeships to retain Welsh medium school leavers within the county borough. To ensure a rich programme of Welsh medium activities for pupils in both primary and secondary sector, the local authority works closely with the Urdd and Menter Brogo to establish these opportunities going forward. In 2021, BCBC used the Welsh Government Hub Infrastructure Grant to ensure all pupils attending Welsh medium schools in Bridgend benefit from the individual use of a Chromebook device. Leader, the financial implications associated with this report, including the various funding streams to support the local authorities' Welsh medium schools, are listed in paragraph 8. Therefore, Leader, I trust this report provides Cabinet with a comprehensive update in respect to the significant amount of work the local authority and its partners have put into ensuring our WESP is successful. Therefore, I ask Cabinet members to note the context of the report and provide feedback as required. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lindsay, and a very warm welcome, croeso to Michelle and Becca, and a huge thank you to the work that you've undertaken. It's a mammoth piece of work and reflects the the significant progress we continue to make in this area. Councillor Blundell is first, and then Councillor Good. Councillor Blundell, please.
Thank you, Leader. And I'd like to add my thanks to the record for Michelle and Becca, who do fantastic work, making sure that we are committed to expanding and promoting the Welsh language here in Bridgend. I think sometimes when we talk about Welsh language provision in Bridgend, I think a lot of people talk down about our provision and that we're not promoting it enough. And I think that's wrong, because we are doing a lot of work. We've seen it recently. We've just talked about the work we're doing in what we call Bridgend North East in the Bracla Coity area with the provision there. We've talked about the fantastic comprehensive school we have, and not only does it have Head Teacher of the Year, but also it got a very clean, in fact, near perfect testing report. So we must be doing something right in Welsh medium education in this county. With a new school in Kennelly on the way, a seedling school in Porthcawl, new childcare hubs, which Lindsay spoke about as well, in Betws and the Ogmore Valley. There's a lot of good going on, and I think this is a fantastic report to be able to promote a lot of that work. And the video is brilliant. Unfortunately, I was meant to be in it, but I was slightly called away to a slightly urgent matter revolving a now 12-week-old. So I think it's fantastic, and I thank you to Michelle and Becca as well, Lindsay and the team, and also to everyone who attends our Welsh in Education Forum, which is where we all come together to discuss these things. And hats off to Michelle, who has to chair it all. It's definitely a task I don't envy. But thank you very much to everyone, and I will end on moving the report. Thank you, Leader.
Thanks so much, Councillor Blundell. Councillor Good, please.
Thanks, Leader. Thanks, Lindsay, for bringing the report. I'm happy to second the report. I think, just to reflect on, as Councillor Blundell says, there feels to me like there is real positive movement in Bridgend towards Welsh language provision and providing really high quality education for anyone in Bridgend who wants to learn in the medium of Welsh. And I just have one question for Lindsay, really, and this will come as no shock to the director, because I know I've mentioned it before, but one of my biggest concerns with this policy, while I think we all accept that the trajectory from Welsh Government of increasing people being able to speak Welsh is a really admirable and worthwhile avenue to take. The concern that I have still, though, is how we ensure that there is adequate teaching provision to staff these new schools that we're building and make sure that the quality of education is of a good standard. And beyond that as well, because I think, it's very easy just to focus on the teachers in the school, but there's also something to be said for having that amazing and invaluable support from the support staff and the auxiliary staff, not to mention catering staff and groundkeeping staff. So I guess my question is, what are we doing and what support are we getting from Welsh Government to find those excellent candidates, retain them and get them in our schools? Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that, Councillor Good, and I think that's a very important question. We have a hugely ambitious programme of school modernisation that will expand the provision of Welsh medium education. Also, we've got a very exciting programme of developing Flying Start and our Welsh medium childcare hubs. All of that new expanded provision will require a larger workforce. Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Leader. It's an exceptionally important question, and it is certainly a challenge when you speak to head teachers, which we have across the region, not just in Bridgend. They see staffing as being one of the major issues they encounter, not just staffing, as you quite rightly say, Councillor Good, as teachers, but across all parts of school life. We have challenge in bespoke settings. So, for example, if we're looking for Welsh language speakers within our ALN settings, and also one of the challenges as frequently identified by our secondary school head teachers across the region is around some difficult to recruit to subjects, for example, STEM, so for science, technology, engineering and maths. One of the things the Welsh Government has done, and this has been in place now for just over a year, they've had a fully funded offer with regard to Welsh courses for the education workforce. One of the things that we are trying to do, though, is trying to encourage people from a very early age to see the value in Welsh language, to see how it does create opportunities within employment. So really working with schools to get that, with schools involved in that from a very early stage. With your permission, Leader, obviously we've got Michelle and Becca with us today. They lead on some of the subgroups within the WEF, and it might be helpful with your permission and Councillor Goods if we bring them in and they can give you the operational information around that as well.
Of course, that would be very helpful. Over to you, please, Michelle.
Diolch yn fawr, Prynhawn da. It's really lovely to be with you this afternoon, and we're really pleased to promote the good work that's going on. It's really, really important. So you would have seen in the report, outcome 7 of the WESP is focused on the workforce. That is kind of where we focus on that meeting the need, as you rightly say. You know, we can have all these fantastic plans in place, but we have to have staff, the support staff in place to support that. So we look at the SWAC data, the School Workforce Annual Census, and we work closely with HR and our partners to analyse that and to see how we then can prepare for the future. So you would have seen, particularly with, I can speak with from additional learning needs, ALN, that's another area of my role. We have quite a wide variety of support that's available to support schools with that. So, and we're always looking out to grow our own, as we say. But working with partners, particularly in that subgroup, and I'll hand over to Becca in a minute, is really important, and it's working with Welsh for Adults, Bridgend College, and it's planning for the future. You know, we've got a 5-year West plan, and we've got the, you know, that's based on the 10-year. So that preparation for the future is really important. But it's also important to promote with the students themselves, with the pupils, to show them. And we're working with our school colleagues. You would have seen the members of the WEF. We've got quite a variety of people on there to show that there are various avenues for futures with the Welsh language. Yes, in Welsh medium, but also in the English medium sector. We've had fantastic celebrations with Siarter Iaith in our English medium schools. Becca and I were really privileged to attend the awards ceremony in March, and we had from every avenue, from faith schools to our special schools to, you know, there's a real plethora of schools that were there. So we are very focused on that and very mindful how we prepare for that future workforce, working with partners. But I wonder through the chair if Becca could come in and talk a little bit more in detail about that subgroup work.
Of course, that would be very helpful. And I will bring Becca in now. Diolch.
Diolch.
Diolch yn fawr. So within the subgroup, we've got various members, and we work very closely with our partners, namely CSC, Central South Consortium, the Earth, and Bridgend College and Mudiad Meithrin, as well as our schools. We focus a lot on upskilling staff, current staff, maybe in English medium schools, and also developing confidence with staff that are in Welsh medium schools, but also with students that are in Ysgol Gyfun Gymraeg Llangynno. They offer a course to years 11 to 13 to develop their confidence and to show that they are good enough to continue in with their Welsh, to continue in work life through the medium of Welsh. We work closely with Mudiad Meithrin and promote courses that they offer. They provide apprenticeships for staff that are currently in nurseries, but also within schools as well. They help Llangynnoed with the courses that they offer. But they also offer courses for English medium schools to promote Welsh medium, so they can offer an Adran Gymraeg. And also the Earth, we work very closely with them and promote their continued professional development opportunities and their apprenticeships. And of course, then we've got CSC, where many of our teachers have had places on sabbatical courses, and then they also follow up the following year with support to those teachers so that they making sure that their good work is being used to have an impact within those settings. Diolch.
Thank you for that comprehensive response. Councillor Good? I hope you're happy with that.
I do. Diolch yn fawr iawn, pawb.
Right. Well, a couple of points from me. I'm really pleased to see with the expansion of the Flying Start provision, we've seen an increase in the percentage of Welsh medium provision in terms of the childcare. I think that's really important, isn't it? In terms of growing that next generation of Welsh speakers, because we know if they access childcare or Flying Start, they're much more likely to progress onto education through the medium of Welsh. I'm also really heartened to see and to hear about the success of the immersion programme, which is a new programme for us, relatively new, still in Bridgend. And then finally, I would be interested in hearing more about the blended learning opportunities we're offering to post-16 learning, because I think that's important. Obviously, we're limited by geography and space. We've got fantastic provision at YGG Llangynnoed, but like any secondary school, it's going to be limited in terms of curriculum. There's a broad curriculum there, but like all our secondary schools, they can't offer every subject, but by working with others, they can offer that opportunity through virtual learning. And I'm really excited by that. That's pioneering, isn't it, in terms of the work. So just 3 points from me there, if you wanted to respond, please, Lindsay.
Thanks, Leader. I think it's really exciting, the last point you've raised about the Ysgol programme. In the middle of the pandemic, we learned from colleagues in Ceredigion about the process they've done there. They came to speak to us, of course, in the middle of the pandemic via Teams, and they shared with us the excellent practice. We've used the excellent practice from the local authorities there and shared it with our secondary schools. And as Cabinet members will be aware, we've engaged in significant activity with secondary schools over the last 3 years in arriving at a common timetable. So we now share a common timetable across our schools and obviously complements the offer from Bridgend College. And part of it, we use that facility to make sure that we address our key areas. Welsh is one of them. And what we are seeing, I think it's fair to say, Michelle and Becca have been actively involved in it, is it's been taken with some gusto by schools. They've really enjoyed it. The take-up is increasing, as it says in the paper, which is really positive as well. Of course, it's low cost by doing something online. It reduces some of our home to school transport costs. But also what we are seeing is far closer working relationships, not just amongst the local authority schools, but with schools wider afield. So not just with Llanharry in RCT, but also with schools hopefully wider across Wales using the hub platform.
Thank you for that. I think that has to be the way forward, actually, not only for our Welsh medium provision, but also I know it's an option and an opportunity for English medium provision too. Okay, so the recommendations we moved in second. Is everyone in agreement with the recommendations, please? And thank you both for your attendance. No doubt we will we'll return to this very important area of work again in the future, and we look forward to seeing you both again and hearing about the progress that we are making. Thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr.
We will now move on to the part of the meeting where we will have to consider the potential exclusion of the public, because I do not have any urgent items that have been raised with me under the Cabinet procedure rules. So I'll ask our monitoring officer to take us through that process, please.
Thank you, Leader. Cabinet will be aware of the test you need to apply. I can confirm that I have been through the 2 items that follow. One is in relation to exempt minutes and one is a report. They both contain commercially confidential information and therefore meet the criteria for being exempt information. You therefore need to apply the test to determine whether it's in the public interest to deal with these in exempt session at this stage. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that. Do I have a mover for that, Councillor Spanswick?
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'd like to move that as appropriate. And
thank you for that. Clearly, it does, in my view anyway, meet that test. Indeed, the minutes, because obviously we've discussed the report that was subject that has resulted in the minute, but also indeed the report itself clearly is at a commercially sensitive stage. And I know it's a rider you often give, is that ultimately these the minutes and indeed the cabinet report will be made public, but at this stage it is certainly commercially sensitive. So if everyone's in agreement, we will exclude the public. And I'll now just confirm with committee section that the public have indeed been excluded. We don't have anyone within the chamber, but I'll check with Mike Gower, Democratic Services Officer and General IT WizKid, if everyone has been excluded. Yes, I think is the answer.
Thanks, Leader. Yeah, everyone's been excluded.
Okay, thanks very much. And now we will therefore receive the minutes for approval. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please?